Alright, y'all, what's happening? It's me, your resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington, here with the episode 9 season finale review of WandaVision on Disney+. Now, if you haven't seen the episode yet, you know the drill by now. Come back. It's gonna be spoilers. This has been a fun ride, first and foremost. I am an MCU fan, there's no doubt about it. I've dug everything they've done because I enjoy the story, I enjoy the connectivity, I enjoy the Easter eggs, the comic book lore, etc., etc. This show took on one life, then became a whole other. And I stuck with the ride. And I'm one of those people that, I had a bunch of theories and guesses who people were and all this is like many others, but I never put too much faith into it. You know, I never put that whole, this is for sure what's going to happen. I was like, it is what it is. I had fun with it. And the finale did not disappoint. The battle with Vision versus Vision, where Paul Bettany eventually told us he was, basically trolling everybody. The person he's wanted to work with was himself, and him as White Vision was phenomenal. Him as White Vision is a complete, it's Vision with a complete personality change. That just shows the depth and the range of Paul Bettany as an actor. Catherine Hahn is phenomenal. I think from here on in, I think WandaVision has solidified that she does not need to be a secondary character in TV shows and films. She's strong enough, if need be, you can potentially put her in the lead now. And we can only hope and see where that goes from there. Her battle with Wanda was phenomenal. Also, one of the things when you talk about the battle of Agatha and Wanda, Vision versus White Vision, the visual effects in this show has been amazing from jump. Shout out to whoever is the visual effects crew. They had to work tirelessly to make a lot of this stuff happen, where there's so much happening in the forefront and in the background that has to move symbiotically, but they're all moving individually at the same time. It's so weird to say, but I hope a lot of y'all get what I'm saying. Everybody got a chance to shine somewhat in this finale. Every main player in the show, and even some of the big auxiliary players, and a lot of things were revealed. Again, Wanda, after her battle with Agatha, in the street in front of the crib, tell the boys to go in the house, hit her with a car. And then it's so funny when she hit her with the car and the car goes through the house, the boots are there, a la Wizard of Oz. I'm like, there's certain little things, because again, later on the marquee of the coronet, you see Oz the Great and Powerful. Just little tidbits. Like there wasn't a lot of Easter eggs per se in this to go forward. And when I say Easter eggs, I mean like things that were hidden that you had to find. There were things that were told straight up to you, plain as day. When Agatha's in the town square with Wanda and the residents of Westview are there, and she tells her she keeps telling her about who she is. Tells her that the dark hole with the book, which the book was, foretold about who she is. She's the harbinger of chaos, etc., etc. She's more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. So, I mean, these are things that are like right in front of us. Not one of those you gotta like figure and be like, what does this potentially mean? Those are all right there. The reveal of, again, when Agatha Harkness cuts the strings of the Westview residents, and they all approach Wanda like, I just want my life. I'll do whatever you want, but just like Dottie approaches, and we all thought Dottie was Clea, Emma Frost. Dottie was like, my name is Sarah. And they just killed that and was like, my name is Sarah, and I got a daughter, she 8, and just let her out her room. And again, they want to be free to that. And then you get to the point where you have Herb like, I can't even remember who I am and why. And people saying when we sleep, Norm saying when you let us sleep, we have your nightmares. Your grief is poisoning us. This is your pain. Because again, the entire town of Westview, the hex is encapsulated in Wanda's pain and anguish, which has manifested itself in this form, in her magic, if you will, if her powers. I bit my inside of my cheek when I said that the first time. That's why I tried to go over it, so y'all didn't catch it, but it is what it is. Y'all already know how I am. One of the things, too, is in the beginning of the episode, pretty much Wanda's like, I'm not a witch. What are you talking about? These are just powers from a Infinity Stone. Which, I mean, in hindsight, you're like, well, shit, you'd still be a witch. You got magical powers. These are magical stones. Stuff like that. But you have all these different things. And like I said, about every individual getting a chance to shine. I'm going to go back to that. Hayward being the asshole we expected Hayward to be. Pietro finding out that he's really no one. He is truly no one. He's a dude named Ralph Boner that just lives in the house that Agatha just happens to have under his control. She put magic on him to give him the speed like Quicksilver. And Monica figures this out. She sees the necklace. She can see the spectrum of magic. So that is going to be helpful going into as we are in phase 4. I said this, I think, in the previous episode review, and I think I'll say it again. One of the things I love about this show is every time we all come with theories, myself included, they shoot a lot of their shit down the next episode. Like, nah, this ain't what you think. Because again, this isn't the story that we want them to tell. It's a story that they want to tell. And more specifically, showrunner Jack Schaefer. She told the story the way she wanted to tell it, and it was done flawlessly, beginning to end. This is a story that was told, a perfect miniseries. It was encapsulated. What else do I have? I got that. This and then what else I want to talk about? Name is the grief. S.W.O.R.D goes in the hex. When Wanda's in the town square with the people, and they're coming to her, and they're like, "Let her go," and she's like, "I will." Well, Betty Jo Rupp, who's, I can't remember what her name was, Mrs. Hart, she was like, "Either let us go or let us die," and she was like, I will let you go. And Wanda proceeds to dissolve the hex, but in the process of dissolving the hex, she dissolves the boys and Vision, and that's when Agatha reminds her, "You tied your family to this, so it's either you let Westview go or you keep your family." And Wanda makes the decision to keep her family. Now, I know a lot of people are like, yo, that's kind of fucked up, because she's still keeping the people of Westview, locked in on her. And like, it is, but it's like, if you tell somebody, I got to choose my family, that makes me complete now, in a sense. Or a bunch of strangers, it's just kind of human nature, depending on how close you are with your family. Let's just be honest. But in the moment when Wanda is pulling down the hex, S.W.O.R.D finally makes his way in, which is great that happens, that happens, because when S.W.O.R.D comes in at one point, Wanda is battling Agatha, and Wanda beforehand tells the boys to handle the military, and they do. Tommy and Billy do what they do. Tommy steals guns, hats, and the glasses, and when Billy has them frozen, but Hayward, who's in a truck, wasn't affected because he wasn't outside, so when he comes out, he tries to shoot them, and Monica makes a return after the whole thing with, Ralph, has bullets go through her. And that, I don't know if we're calling her Spectrum because she can see the spectrum. I don't know if we're calling her Photon. I don't know if we're gonna call her Captain Marvel after Captain Marvel 2, but god damn it, whatever it is, I'm here for it. And then Billy stops a bullet, and and Monica turns around like, "Yo, I like your tricks." Billy said, "I like yours too." So again, this everything, it keeps moving. This was a finale that kept moving, and even while it kept moving, it kept you in your it kept your emotions on high, because again, you got connected to this. No matter how devious this may seem, what Wanda was doing, you felt for it, because again, you felt for the love. She has a genuine love for her boys, even though her boys aren't real. She has a love for Vision, even though Vision isn't real. You get what I'm saying? And Vision is sitting here battling himself, which I'll go back to. But also, I forgot to mention that Director Hayward tried to run away in a S.W.O.R.D thing, and Darcy in the van that we saw in the previous 2 episodes made the save. All right. Again, everyone gets their moment to shine. Jimmy Woo, he's being brought in by Hayward earlier when the Vision and the White Vision are fighting. He steals a phone and a paperclip, but also before telling Hayward, like, yo, all this you did, I mean, my buddies at Quantico ain't gonna like, they're gonna love to hear this when they hit there in an hour, when they be hitting under an hour. And Hayward's like, you're bluffing. Jimmy Woo was like, am I? Come to find out he was, till he made a phone call. What else did I want to talk? There was the moment in the library with Vision and Vision, where they talk about the Ship of Theseus, how it's an artifact in the museum, for those who didn't recall, and as the pieces of wood rot, they replace it with new pieces. So is the ship the actual ship, or is it not the ship? And this, because Vision asks White Vision, why are you doing this? He says, I must destroy the Vision. I must destroy the true Vision. And he said, my programming dictates that I destroy the Vision. And Vision says, the regular Vision says, "But I'm not the true Vision, only a conditional vision." That is what perplexes the White Vision, to where Vision brings up the Ship of Theseus. And in the process, it makes the White Vision and try to understand what's really going on. Like, yo, I'm 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 not Vision, but I am Vision. I feel like I'm missing something. And the regular Vision is like, yo, you have memories. They're just, the data is just locked away. Let me unlock it. And he does. So what I was expecting to happen at the moment, which didn't, cool with it for me. I thought the two visions were going to merge somehow. That was some crazy thing I had for like a hot second in my head. But what happens is Vision unlocks the other Vision, and he shows him the memories. We go back from Age of Ultron, from when he was first created to the moment when he died in Infinity War, and all the things in the moments in between with Wanda. And he sees this and he says, "I am the Vision," and he takes off. That's the last we see of him, which is cool because eventually I believe it'll come back around. Because I think now we are using West Vision, West Vision, because I wanted to say West Coast Avengers. We are using the White Vision, and it wasn't Ultron. I thought it might have been Ultron. I did. I was like, oh, the way he looked at his hand, oh, it's probably Ultron. Didn't go that way. Again, perfectly fine with it. Because there's some people like, man, how come they didn't do this? I'm perfectly fine with it. This was a fucking phenomenal finale. I'm fine with it. But like I said, you have the White Vision, the boys, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel. West Coast Avengers are things. Boom. All right. Get back to when Wanda, at one point, Wanda hexes Agatha and takes her back to her memory. She was almost burned at the stake by the other witches. And in the process, Agatha's scared, as we see, but she gets out of it, and the witches see Wanda and say the Scarlet Witch and turn the tables, basically. Wanda does not want to be recognized as the Scarlet Witch because, again, I'm not a witch. Hearing witches is weird. It's a Halloween thing. It's not real until you see Agatha Harkness. But at one point during after the battle, when Agatha tells her that I want your power. I take power from the undeserving, those who don't want it. Basically, give this to me, and I'll fix the flaws in your original spell. Wanda eventually in the air and during the battle gives it to her, as we see, and Agatha's just taking it. But in the process, what we didn't realize is that Wanda was actually remembering what Agatha told her about runes and how to cast them and certain things, and cast runes where Agatha can't use magic. And in that point, Wanda absorbs all of the energy that Agatha has taken and goes into her true Scarlet Witch form, which shouts out to the costume designers. That is so dope. That Scarlet Witch is so dope. I am so upset that there is no Comic-Cons this year, because I was really hoping to see the cosplays. Now, given the fact we won't see them this year, we will more than likely see them next year on what they are. Let's see. Scarlet Witch fit, though. Yeah. Here's something that people have always said about Marvel villains, and I agree. How many of their villains they will dispose of quickly after one film. And granted, this isn't a movie, but you could, quickly think about that, like them possibly disposing of Catherine Hahn. And it's like, no, they didn't. What Wanda did was, I'm going to turn you into the role you chose, the nosy neighbor, and basically wipe her memory in a sense, to have her live in Westview. And Agatha says, you have no idea what you unleashed. She said, you're going to need me. Again, this is going forward into phase 4 as we're in. These are things about, again, Dormammu, Chthon, dark magic, things like that are coming and that are being foreshadowed that we know. Because again, Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. We know we're going to get these different universes, but now we know Scarlet Witch is going to be in that from what we've been told already. So much that comes together. You get to probably what is the saddest part of this entire episode, and after the Agatha is put back to Agnes and whatnot, everything's getting broken, and Vision tells Wanda, it looks like our perfect home is now a fixer-upper, and tells Wanda, you'll fix everything, but not for us. And Wanda says, no, not for us, because she knows what she has to do. Because at one point, Agatha does tell Wanda, heroes don't torture people, which is true. Heroes don't torture people. And so Wanda, being an Avenger, still a hero. Despite all of the negative shit she's done. I mean, hell, the Hulk is still a hero, even though he's destroyed buildings and cost lives. You get what I'm saying? So she goes back home with the family, goes back in the house. As the hex is fully officially dissipating, because she knows she has to let that part go. And you see her and Vision tucking the boys in, and them Wanda saying that we'll always be family no matter how hard we try to, no matter how hard we try to forget and things like that. And one of the things I noticed throughout that whole scene, and I was hoping it was going to happen, but maybe it was just me wishing too much. If you look at Paul Bettany's eyes as Vision, it literally looks like Vision's about to cry. I was like, has Vision cried? And if Vision cries, that's going to be the dopest shit. And I think I'm going to be weeping. Like, weeping on the floor. They tuck the boys in. Wanda says, thanks for choosing me to be your mom. And granted, she knows her children are about to disappear and everything. I felt that as a parent myself. As a father, I'm always of the thank you for allowing me to be your dad to my son and my daughter. You chose me to be your dad. You chose me to be the person to plant the seed that's germinated that would develop into you, things like that. And it means so much because there's an honor and a responsibility there, and a love, and unconditional love, and agape love. And granted, whether it's magic or real, when it comes to your babies, them your babies. Them your babies. But Wanda and Vision go downstairs, and Vision turns the lights on because he's like, I don't want to say goodbye in the dark, basically. And Vision is like, I started out as all this, what am I? And Wanda says a whole bunch of things. You are a body of blood and bone and wires that I created. But she says one of the most beautiful things, again, this show has had a lot of beautiful, poignant lines. A lot of them. She says, you are my sadness and hope, but mostly you are my love. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it was about 12:45 in the morning, and I felt like my allergies were kicking in heavy because I know I've been dealing with sinus issues. But it was a beautiful line because it was subtle, because we've known the love between Wanda and Vision. I think we've seen it. We saw it in a sense in Infinity War when they were together before Vision got shanked. We've seen it how it developed in Civil War. We've seen it through WandaVision. But again, this was the way that Wanda was making things happen when we started seeing it, even though we knew it was there. But to see the complete expression, the unequivocal wave of emotion that comes between the two of them when Vision is starting to dissipate and dissolve is just a made a kiss. And he goes again back to the points to the visual effects team. It is phenomenal. Visual effects team, the editors, it's a beauty. Let's just call it what it is. It's beautiful. You see that. We end up with Wanda back where she was, standing in the middle of the lot. No home, anything, just regular was. She goes back to the town square. Everybody just looking at her. Everybody like, bitch, you just dirty. You just, you just trifling. Everybody in town square looking at her. And Monica tells her, like, the town will never know what you sacrificed for them. She was like, yeah, but that ain't gonna change how the fuck they see me. But y'all blame her. She gonna like, yeah, bitch, you got rid of your family, but bitch, you fucked up my life. Like, I get it. And Wanda leaves. She's like, she's gonna study her powers and figure out what it is, and leaves. It is such a thing. We see Wanda leaving Westview. We get a post-credit scene. Well, a mid-credit scene, excuse me, where, everybody's doing a debriefing. Darcy says debrief is for the week. She leaves a message to Jimmy. Jimmy's with Monica. Monica gets a message, hey, they're looking for you in the theater. Monica goes in the theater, and the agent says, I'm a associate of a friend of your mother's, and turns out to be a Skrull, and says, he heard you'd been grounded. He'd like to speak to you. And she's like, where? She goes, up here. Monica gets to go in the air, go into space, which she's been wanting to do since the return of her in this show. How, when we saw her come back from the blip, the snapping, I do not want to call it a blip, the snapping. We see that. And we know now that, yeah, because we know Nick Fury is in space. The real Nick Fury is in the space satellite headquarters of S.W.O.R.D. So we know it there. He's there. So that is where we go into Captain Marvel 2. But we have a post-credit scene where we go into a valley covered by beautiful mountains and trees and a cabin secluded away. Wanda sitting on the porch drinking tea by herself, just enjoying nature. Zoom in, we see the Scarlet Witch studying the Darkhold. And while we see her studying the Darkhold, we hear, help me from Tommy and Billy. Eyes going red, that's it. That's chaos magic. She's still learning how to do this again. Wanda is learning how to use magic now. She's learning about chaos magic, and she's going to learn about dark magic. And more than likely, she's bringing the boys back. Again, the multiverse of madness will potentially bring the boys back and keep them in the world. Because again, the West Coast Avengers. So now you have White Vision. You will have the boys back after Doctor Strange 2. You will have Miss Marvel with her series coming out. You will have Kate Bishop's Hawkeye. So that is how we get another Avengers movie. We're not getting that gigantic Avengers Assemble type deal like with the main group we've had since Endgame. We'll get the smaller ancillary Avengers teams, if you will. I said this on Twitter. That post-credit scene with Scarlet Witch reading the Darkhold, it's the reason why I am so mad that COVID messed up the MCU release timeline. Because we were literally supposed to be WandaVision, Doctor Strange 2. Now we have to wait a year to see Doctor Strange 2. And it's going to be weird. We're going to feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie because we're going to get Spider-Man at the end of the Spider-Man No Way Home at the end of the year. And then we go back. So we're going to feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie with pieces over the place. But eventually we still get that timeline no matter what. And I just think this ended on such a high note. I don't care. Again, I love how they shot down everybody's theories. Again, we all knew, kept saying it. No Mephisto. Boom. The Dottie is clear. Done. They made Agatha Harkness, when they said Agatha all along, they made her, it's Agatha all along. It was her as the main antagonist. It was no Agatha working for somebody else. They left it what it is. They brought Evan Peters in as Pietro, had everybody thinking, oh my God, that is mutants. Oh my God, that is mutants. Then we see Agatha all along. Oh my God, he is not Pietro. Who is he? Is he Nightmare? Is he this person? Is that person? Find out. He is a dude named Ralph Boner who has been put under spell by Agatha. Perfect. You don't dispatch of Agatha Harkness. You didn't get rid of her. You just put her back in Westview for when you need her. Like Wanda says earlier, if I need you, I know where to find you. I think the MCU, I think Marvel Studios has learned and listened to everyone's complaints about villains. Like I said, dispatching them early. Because the thing was, if you ever watched the movies for the first couple of phases, mainly phase 1 and phase 2, a little bit of phase 3, they would always take, because you have to, the hero's main antagonist, their number one nemesis, would be their first villain, of course, and then 9 times out of 10 would dispatch of them, and you're like, all right, let's just see where you go from here. And I'm not going to say that Agatha Harkness is the main, but she is a very key and essential part to the Scarlet Witch lore. But them not to dispatch of her speaks volumes. Again, yes, it's Catherine Hahn, and she was phenomenal, so you want to be able to keep that actor around. But I'm glad they did that. I love what they did with this. Again, this is appointment television back again, whereas you got to make sure you watching this. Everybody was making sure they were up. If you on the West Coast, you up at midnight. If you on the East Coast, you up at 3 a.m. to watch every new episode. And it was a thing. It was a big thing to do, and you were into it. Now, there were some people at first who, of course, were like the first couple episodes, I don't get this. This is weird. But they said it. Kevin Feige, Jack Schaefer, all of them kept saying, this is not going to be typical at the beginning. You just need to stick through it. And then when it kicked in gear, it kicked in gear. Then you had the episode of Agatha Harkness and revealing Wanda's backstory more than what we just heard in Age of Ultron. We see it. And some people were like, oh, that was a filler. It's not a filler. It was essential to know every single thing. But at that moment, people were like, see, she had a hex. She could do a probability hex. That sounds like a mutant to me. No, the show was already written. The show was done. Everybody kept thinking they were going to shoehorn mutant. I kept saying this. I even at one point thought they might have. Because again, season changed. But the majority of people felt like they were going to shoehorn mutants into this. I was like, I still am under the... Because again, House of M. If you know the story, no more mutants. Again, reverse it, make mutants. I've always said this, and I still believe this, that the Eternals is the jump-off point for mutants. I still believe it. I still believe it. This gave us what we wanted. It gave us that feeling, first of all, of having a Marvel studio, seeing the opening title crawl back. We've been missing all that in 2020 with COVID and everything. And the one thing also is they have taken characters that many people did not care about, that many people did not even really rock with, and have made you feel for them. They took a character like the Scarlet Witch and they took you through her emotional grief, her mental trauma, to how she dealt with it, how she finally addressed it, how she had to sit there and face it and confront it, and how she somewhat overcame it. They took you on a ride with that, and I think that needs to be credited. Again, will this rack up awards come awards season? Technical awards? Absolutely. Visual effects, editing, etc., etc. But you cannot deny the acting. You cannot deny the performances Paul Bettany has given you throughout this entire series. Nor Elizabeth Olsen, and for damn sure not Catherine Hahn. To bring in Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau, who was phenomenal in that, and now we know she goes on to Captain Marvel 2. Excuse me. Bringing back Randall Park as Jimmy Woo from the Ant-Man series. Let's see where we go. How far does he go into S.W.O.R.D? Does he stay? Does he join S.W.O.R.D? Does he stay in the FBI? Bringing back Darcy Lewis, Kat Dennings from Thor. Again, you're keeping the MCU universe. It moves bits and pieces, comes back together. Moves bits and pieces, come back together. It's a dope ride. Again, I'm not going to compare this to any other comic book and or film universe. This is what the MCU is. And again, we now have, coming up, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we get to watch the story of now how Sam Wilson is supposed to be Cap, but how the government is like, nah, bro, just because Steve Rogers handed you the shield don't mean you Cap. Give it to the white boy. Because that's literally what the story is. It's literally what the story is. But it's so much more that takes you on a ride, and I think I'm gonna be here for that ride with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you want to ride with me with that, if you rode with me through all these reviews for this, thank you so much. I much appreciate it. I want to know your thoughts on the finale in the comments below. Also, did you feel like, damn, I wish they would have done this, but then we're cool with like, yo, I'm good with what y'all did? That's what I want to know from you, all right? Do it down below. And while you're here, make sure you like on this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, share the video with people, all that good stuff, all right? Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington, M-R-J-A-Y. You should know how to spell Washington. Check out Blurs in the Hood every Tuesday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Myself and Winston A. Marshall get you caught up in the world that's happening of pop culture, entertainment, sports, news, politics, and more from a Blurred's perspective. And we are unapologetically black. And I'm dropping a new episode of the Mad Titan Podcast. I know I keep saying it. I've been busy, but I'm trying to get to it. I'm sorry. All right. Holla at y'all later. Catch y'all back here for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Bye.